Welcome to Sumita Roy's English classroom. This is Professor Sumita Roy. As I told you in the previous video, we shall spend some time now on doing grammar for all levels. Some of the nouns which we saw yesterday, the types of nouns, now we are continuing with some further idea about nouns. The number and the gender are two very important points in the usage of nouns. Whenever we want to use nouns, we should know all the aspects of their structure and their function. If we know their structure and function, we will be able to use nouns properly. And as I told you in the first video, that is the beginner's language drill noun video, nouns and verbs are the most important words for you to frame sentences, to speak, to communicate. Therefore, we are spending some time on nouns so that the explanation is clear to you, the rules are clearly visible, and you can apply these rules to various situations where you have to communicate. You must remember that whenever you're communicating, the correctness of the language is as important as your fluency. You will not get confidence unless you are able to speak or write correctly. Most people who learn English as a second or third language tend to make many mistakes in the use of the language. That is when grammar comes into effect. But many people feel that grammar is the ultimate lesson of learning communication or speaking a language. That is not true. I have been telling you this, that perfect grammar is no guarantee for excellent spoken or written English. Grammar is essential, but it is not the ultimate. You have to practice. And that is why I have been giving you passages for practice. In the previous video also, you must have seen that your tests are passages. And these are graded passages so that you listen to them as I read, you read them on your own when you're watching the video, then you can speak or write about them, all the time keeping in mind not only the item which is being tested. In the previous one, it was noun types, that is proper, common, abstract, and collective noun. Here it is number and gender. Beyond that, you have to look at each sentence. You have to look at all the other aspects of the sentence also. Now, since we are doing nouns, although one video is finished, in this video too, you can yourself on your own, when you're doing self-study, you can check if all the 4 types of nouns you can spot in these passages. Can you use these passages for bettering your spoken and written English? These are all the things which are necessary. So grammar is not restricted to grammar. Grammar is also a way of improving all the LSRW skills. Let us begin today's lesson. The first slide, as you can see, says count and non-count nouns. Certain nouns which can be counted, we can call them countable. Counted would mean that one noun would be singular and more than one would be plural. This I told you also in the first video, and that is the beginner's language drill noun video. This is a continuation of what we did there. The non-count are ones which you cannot count. So we can say uncountable. These terms are interchangeable. You can say count or countable. You can say non-count or uncountable. Where the noun is not counted as one or two, but it is counted as a single unit. Now, if you have Breeze, you don't count. You can't say one breeze if it is coming into your window. You cannot say two breezes if it's going into your neighbor's window also, or if there is a breeze on the lawn. Breeze is whether it is here or there, whether it is different. Today there is breeze, tomorrow there is breeze. You cannot say every day there is breezes. That form we don't have. Similarly, sand. You go to a beach, you find sand. You come to a construction site, you find sand. So you cannot say sands. The word sands is used in English. I'm not saying it's not used, but that has a metaphoric meaning. It is a different meaning, and it is not the plural form of the word sand. Then you have wheat. Now, we don't count wheat as that one grain, wheat or rice or dal, any of those things. It is the quantity which is there. So you can say one grain of wheat. Grain is being counted. Many grains of wheat, or 1 kilogram of wheat, or 10 kgs of wheat. That way you can count. But you cannot count wheat as such. Then you have petrol. I gave you the example of oil earlier. So petrol similarly. You say 1 liter of petrol, but you can't say petrols. That is not, you get two, three varieties of petrol. Something is purified, something is natural, common, but you don't use the form as the plural or singular. Butter. Now, it might be one slab of butter, it might be a shelf full of butter. Similarly, bread. We don't count them as breads or butters, etc. We can say that, many packs of butter or many uh, loaves of bread. Bread is, a single piece, or many slices of bread if you are talking about one single slice. Then you have research. We don't say researches. Research. If you do 10 different types of research, it is still research. Work also is similar. We don't say works for more than one work. I work every day. I do this work now. Later, I will do some other work. So today, I had much work, not I had many works. The word works again is used in English. It's not as though works is not used, but it is different. It is not the meaning work plural works. Similarly, vocabulary, whether you learn one type of word formation or you learn many, we will do a lot of vocabulary in the videos. This, we don't say vocabularies, we say vocabulary. So these are all uncountable or non-count. That means they are a unit. They are not one or more than one. That form we don't have. Whereas all the countable nouns have the plural formation. That is what we will do next. You have cloud, stone, you can say clouds, you can say stones, you can say ladders, you can say brooms, you can say boxes, you can say shelves, you can say syllabi or syllabuses, then you can say eggs or you can say directors. These are all possibilities which we have as far as the count nouns are concerned, count or countable. This is the basic difference you have to keep. And when you are using the rest of the sentence also, the words are determined by whether the noun is count or non-count. That we will study when we are doing further grammar. We will see how the usage is. Today, please note the usages in the examples I have given you and also in the tests which I have put for all three levels, separate test for basics, separate for mid, and separate for advanced, so that you're getting three different kinds of exercises. Those of you who are at a basic level, do only the first one now. After a month, you can come back and do the middle level. And then after another month, you can do the advanced level. You need not take as much time as I need to make all the videos. You can't stop your learning. You go on learning, And the higher you reach, the more your improvement is. Don't restrict yourself to anything, but you have to practice again and again. That is what is most important. Unless you practice it regularly, no benefit comes with all explanations or all examples, exercises, tests. Nothing helps you unless you practice. Let's go over this slide quickly because I have already mentioned orally in the previous slide what are the plural forms of the count nouns which we listed. The same list is here. You can see exactly the same list. Cloud. Then you have man, of course, that's different. Ladder, then mouse, box, shelf, syllabus, child, and director. So cloud becomes clouds. Where S is added, here see ladders. Then you see boxes. Then you see directors. These are the regular nouns. When we are studying nouns, singular and plural number, all nouns which have S or ES addition, ES addition is only for pronunciation. You know, box already ends in the sir sound. Box, sir, sir. So we cannot add another sir to it by saying boxes. That's not possible. So we, for ease of pronunciation, words which have ending which is similar to S, we add E. So we say boxes. E sound comes boxes. So that E sound, the vowel sound, helps in the pronunciation. Now you look at the other plural forms. Man becomes men. So there's a change. The vowel which is inside A becomes E. Then mouse becomes mice. OUS changes to IC. Then you have shelf. F becomes VES. Then you have syllabus. US becomes syllabi. Syllabi has also another form, and that is syllabuses. Both are accepted forms. Then child becomes children. REN is added. These are different. These are irregular formations of numbers. This you have to remember because I will show you the rules for irregular formation also. There's a slide which will tell you how irregular nouns form their plurals, the rule and the examples. Here we have a few sentences which show you the non-count, singular count and plural count being used. How much ever grammar we learn, finally what we need is the usage. Unless we know how to put them into a sentence, into a paragraph, into our communication, into our written and oral communication, speaking and writing, it is of no use to us. If we just learn the rules of grammar, what are we going to benefit from it? So here are some single examples, single sentence examples. Some longer examples you will find in your tests. There also, you should keep the passages in mind. The amount of passages which I'm giving you should be able to improve your spoken and written English. That is why I'm not giving you examples as single sentences. Many of you have asked, Madam, please give us the books you have written. Now, I don't publish my own books, so I can't give you the books I have written. I wrote them very, very long back. So I'm trying to bring you a kind of textbook learning here where you have the textbook, you have the workbook, you have your own exercises, and you have an entire pattern of teaching yourself, of self-improvement. Not only the videos. The videos help you. Watch the videos 10 times if you want. Then you are on your own. Go in and use this, whatever you have learned in your real life. If you don't have anybody to use it with, then sit and talk to yourself. Remember that most of the time Our communication is self-communication. Thinking is talking to ourselves. So when you start thinking, think in these structures, think in English. So we have first three non-count nouns, different ones from earlier: rest and information and advice. All of them, we cannot say advices, we cannot say informations. These are very often misused. The S form is very often used, but that doesn't happen. If you are using the S form, that means there is some grammatical error in your sentence. Rest also, rests. Rests is used as a verb. You must remember that he rests, she rests. That form is allowed because that's a verb form. Now I'm talking about the noun rest. So there you don't have rests as the plural noun. The doctor advised the patient complete rest. Complete rest would imply that rest for a long time. Today rest, tomorrow rest, day after tomorrow rest, but not rests. Information. Get me all the bits of information you can find. Now you are counting it as bits of information. Difficult to get information. So whatever little information you can get, you get them all to me. So the count noun is bit, bits, not information, informations. Get me all the informations, you cannot say. The elders gave her many pieces of advice. Again, see, piece, pieces is counted. Advice is not counted. You cannot say elders gave her advices, many pieces of advice. These are very often mistaken in usage. You find that many people are using the S form here, which you will avoid from now, because now you know that this should not be used. The poor beggar asked for a loaf of bread. Now, bread is a loaf, or you can say a slice of bread, as I told you. This is the singular form where we are talking in terms of loaf and not bread, because bread is non-count. We are not worried about the noun bread in this sentence. We are looking at the word loaf because the plural is also there. The bakery sells fresh loaves of brown bread. So bread remains the same, no change. Many pieces of bread, but they are loaves. So loaf and loaves being counted, singular, plural. Then family. This family is known to me. So singular form. The families in our neighborhood are friendly. So family, families. Then key. Where is the key to the cupboard? Have you seen my bunch of keys anywhere? Now we studied collective, you remember? Collective, bunch. Bunch is a noun, but it's a collective noun. So, you have a bunch of twigs. You can use a bunch with various other nouns. Here is the form, that is, the form is keys. So singular key and plural keys. This we have seen as some examples, some sentences where we have used the forms. Now we have the rule of plural formation. As I mentioned already, I will give you a few rules with examples. Where you have US, it can change to I. We saw an example, syllabus, US, syllabi. So we have here alumnus, the student who studied from a particular university, particular college, alumnus, single one. Alumni, the group of students. Then fungus, a kind of, small, minute body. Fungi. Stimulus, you also pronounced as fungi. Stimulus and stimuli or stimuli. These are all variations in pronunciation. Always, when you want to check pronunciation, you can always look at it. The dictionary these days has the pronunciation CD also. Our online pronunciation forms are plenty. You can always check the pronunciation of single words. Then you have the next rule. If the word ends in is, you can change it to es. You have analysis, I changes to e, it becomes analyses. Then you have basis, the I changes to e, you have bases. Then you have crisis, I changes to e, you have crises. Then ix ending word changes to ices. So you have appendix, what comes at the end of a book or a paper or a report. Then you have appendices, more than one. Index, index is a list. Then you have indices. Then you have matrix, the way of analysis. And you have matrices. Then a ending word can become AE. Antenna becomes antennae. Formula becomes formulae. And vertebra becomes vertebrae. Then OUSE, this also example we saw. Mouse, already we had. And one more example is added here, and that is louse and lice, small insect. Then you have N in the ending. Child becomes children. Child remains as it is, en is added. Then you have ox, it becomes oxen, en is added. Then man, an is removed and en is put. That means there is an internal change of vowel form. Then you have ending word, becomes a in the end. Curriculum becomes curricula, medium becomes media, stratum becomes strata. Then oo, two times, although it's a single vowel sound, the two letters that are used to spell it change from oo to ee in many forms. These are all, as I told you, irregular noun patterns for formation of plurals. Foot becomes feet, tooth becomes teeth, and goose becomes geese. These are the plural forms of the oo singular. Then some are same form, you don't have a different form. I already gave you the example of fish. I said that we don't say fishes, unless of course they're different species. Fishes have other meaning, but not the form singular and plural. So sheep, you have one or more than one. Fish, you have one or more than one. And deer, you have one or more than one. They don't change the form. The singular and plural are the same form, no difference. In today's video, we have two things, and that is number and gender of nouns. We have completed the number part of it, count and non-count, and singular and plural. Now here is the test for the beginners. You have to spot the count and non-count forms. In the count forms, you have to also spot singular and plural. So you have to look at all the nouns and see what is what. Our citizens have great love and loyalty towards our country. Let me also mention to you here that usually all abstract nouns are non-count. You cannot say love and loves. That hint I'm giving you already. We studied abstract nouns in the previous video. I'm sure all of you have mastered it if you have seen the video many times. Sometimes you already know the lesson which is being done. You need to only watch it once. Sometimes it's unfamiliar, or even though you know it, you make mistakes, in which case you have to see them many times. You see the examples, you see the explanation again and again, then you never make the mistake. It becomes embedded in your mind. You don't have to change at all. So our citizens have great love and loyalty towards our country. That is one sentence. I've given the sentences separately, but they all form a paragraph because this is beginners. Beginners wanted simple sentences. I got many mails, many messages saying we want to learn simple sentences. So as far as possible, I'm giving you simple sentences. Please repeat them, understand them, and try to construct more sentences on these structures. Every citizen feels this attachment towards his or her nation. Great leaders teach us patriotism. The freedom fighters who worked for freedom have brought glory to themselves and their motherland. All people should be patriotic and serve the country without selfishness. So this is the passage which you have. Now stop here, look at the passage, try to find out all the 3 points which I mentioned to you. Which are the nouns? First you find out. Then which of them is a singular noun, which of them is a plural noun? That also you find out. Which of them does not have a singular plural form, it's only one form, and therefore it cannot be counted, and it is an uncountable noun. So make 3 columns and try to write down the answers. The next slide will give you the answers. If you've already got the answers, you will feel happy that yes, all my answers are right. You are here, you are yourself evaluating your answers. You don't require another teacher or examiner here. You do it yourself. Do it honestly. If you have made a mistake, then do this exercise 5 times. With the same sentences, do it 5 times. Then you will find that in real contexts also, you will not make mistakes. You can see the answers in 3 columns: singular count nouns, plural count nouns, and uncountable ones. So look at the sentences. Since you don't have them with you, I will read out to you one by one. Our citizens. Now, citizens is a noun. It is a plural noun because there is citizen and there is citizens. So you can look at the word citizen, you can look at the word citizens, and you will find that both are there in this. Therefore, you have to put them here in singular column and in plural column. But I've put them in the order in which they usually occur in the passage, so I haven't put. Have great love and loyalty. Now, love and loyalty are uncountable. You cannot count loyalties as 1 or 2. Loyalties has a different meaning altogether. If you write a book, then they pay you royalty. If 2, 3 books, then they pay you royalties. But that is a different word altogether. That is royalty. Now, this is loyalty, and this is a noun which is not countable. Then you have country. So country is singular. We have put it in that column. Then citizen comes here, so we've put it. Attachment, again, you cannot say attachments, unless, of course, it is attachments to your, files in your computer, then you can easily say it. But attachment here is a feeling. Therefore, you cannot say that it is countable. You cannot have more than one kind of attachment. Towards his or her nation. Now, nations possible. So it is a singular noun. Leaders is the plural form, so we've put it in the second column. Then patriotism. Patriotism is again non-count. We don't say patriotisms. Then you have fighters, freedom fighters. Fighters comes in the plural form. The freedom fighters who worked for freedom have brought glory. Glory is non-count. It has gone into the last column. And to themselves and the motherland. The motherland is singular, so you have, you can put it there. But, various people from different countries showed their allegiance to their motherlands. You are putting. Now, we don't pronounce it as motherland, although land is written, but we pronounce it as motherland. I will do many videos on pronunciation where I will tell you about the pattern of accents. There you will know how it is. Then all people, people is plural because more than one. should be patriotic and serve the country. Already country we had. Selflessness. So it's not selflessness, I'm sorry, without selfishness. So without selfishness, the word selfishness is a noun, and here we have selfishness in the column of non-count noun. These are the answers to the beginner's sentences, which actually forms a small paragraph. Here is the mid-level test passage. I'm sure all of you remember that we are testing the singular and plural number and non-count nouns. So here you have to spot the nouns which are there in this passage, say whether they are singular or plural, or whether they are uncountable. Let me read the passage because I'm giving you listening practice also. As I told you, grammar is not only grammar. Grammar is all-round improvement of English. Listening, reading, speaking, writing, everything. The passage reads like this. The poet was born in a village. He was educated in the city. He became a painter first. He gave many exhibitions of his paintings. His art was much appreciated. Later, he began writing poetry. His first volume of poetry was not popular. Later, he wrote serious verse. In one poem, he described life as a journey. People live for a short time, and after they leave the world, that is, they die, only memories remain. But memories do not live like people. They always stay in the mind of others. In other pieces, he spoke about achievements and their impact on the world. So that is the passage. Don't immediately go forward in the video. Stop here, pause for a minute, find out what are the nouns which we have used, and try to put them into 3 categories. The next slide will show you the answers. So anyway, you will check your answers. If you have problems, you cannot find a single answer, then see the next slide. Check up the answers. Then after watching the whole video, come back to the test again and work out the test at least 5 times. That way, you will be able to learn the rules better rather than listening to the explanation and memorizing the rule, which doesn't really help. We are all interested in using the language, not in learning about the language. Learning about the language is very good, but now we need English for using in our lives. So let us do it that way. Here are the answers once more in 3 columns: singular, plural, and uncountable. The first sentence is the poet was born in a village. So you have 2 nouns, poet and village, both singular. He was educated in the city, only 1 noun, city, again singular. He became a painter first. Painter is the noun here, again it's a singular noun. He gave many exhibitions of his paintings. Now you have exhibitions, it's gone right below on the 4th word in the plural column, and paintings has come here. So both these are plural. You can rearrange the order if you want. His art was much appreciated. Art, uncountable, because arts has a different meaning altogether. Art, non-count, uncountable. Only noun there. Later, he began writing poetry. So you have here poetry. Now, the poem can't be counted. 1 poem, more than 1 poems. But when you say poetry, which meaning is almost the same, but poetry is non-count. His first volume, now the word here noun is volume, singular noun, so we have put it in that column. Poetry is already finished, was not popular, no noun here. Then he wrote serious verse. Verse is poetry. You know how poetry is written? That's called verse. So verse is singular. We can have verses. Therefore, it goes into the first column. In one poem, again, it is singular. So we have put it in the first column. He describes life. Life again comes, life, lives. So we have in the first column, singular. As a journey, journey again, singular, journey, journeys. So singular, we've put in the first column. People, people we have already come across. So people goes into the plural form. Live for a short time. Time is uncountable. So we count it in hours, minutes, days, or weeks or months. We don't count time. We only count the divisions of time. So time is uncountable. And after they leave the world, world again is singular. You can have more than one. So worlds. Now, scientists are discovering so many things, where life is possible. There must be different worlds in different parts of the universe. They die. So here, only memories remain. Memories you have, plural. Again, memories has come, we've already done it. People we have done, so we don't have. But memories do not leave like people. Both of them we've already done. They stay in the mind. Mind is now, here I don't, yes, I've put it in the singular form. It's not, in the correct order. Mind has gone right in the middle of the column. So mind is there. Other pieces, in other pieces, pieces is plural, piece and pieces. He spoke about achievements. Again, achievements is plural, so we have put it in this column. And impact we have put in uncountable. Impact, impacts. Impacts verb form is there, what impacts you, what motivates you. But impact noun form, uncountable. And then on the world. The world again is there. We have already put it once. So the world remains in column 1. These are the answers which you have got for your passage mid-level test. I'm sure you can see how the passages which are test passages are graded. You have a simple one for beginners, not so simple for mid-level, and a more complex one for the advanced level. Here is the advanced level test, which has the passage where you have to find out which of the nouns are singular, which are plural, and which are uncountable. Again, in 3 columns you will get the answers, but first you have to work out this passage yourself. Working it out yourself, not checking the answers before answering it yourself, is a good strategy for learning this item of grammar. For each item of grammar, you have got exercises. Unless you do them, you will never know whether you have learnt the item or not. As usual, let me begin by first reading it out to you. Politicians all over the world are talking about the consequences of global warming. Its effect is seen in half the world suffering drought and the other half floods. Also, cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons, and tempests have increased. Millions are facing starvation due to climate change. Hunger, homelessness, lack of basic necessities has troubled many countries of the world. Air, water, food are polluted. In a high-level summit about weather, many members showed disinterest in taking any concrete step to help the situation. But if this continues, there is great peril waiting for us, and our very survival is in doubt. So the passage, very meaningful passage also. It has many difficult words, longer words and longer passage than the other two. But our main exercise here is to find out which are the nouns which are singular, which are the nouns which are plural, and which are the ones which you cannot have singular, plural, separate forms for it. Let us check the answers. Here are the answers to the passage which was given as a test passage for the advanced level. The advanced level passage here talks about global warming, it talks about politicians talking about global warming. All these many nouns are there. You have to now find which of them is singular, which is plural, and which is uncountable. We begin with the sentence, politicians all over the world, politicians plural and world singular, world we've come across many times, are talking about the consequences of global warming. Consequences is plural and global warming is uncountable. Its effect is seen, effect is singular, is seen in half the world. We've already finished world. Suffering drought, drought is singular, and other half floods, floods is plural. Also, cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons, and tempests, all plural. So we've put cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons, tempests in the plural column, have increased. Millions, millions here refers to people. So millions we've put as plural, are facing starvation. Starvation goes into uncountable, right on top. Due to climate change again uncountable. Hunger, homelessness, and lack of basic necessities. Hunger and homelessness go into the uncountable column, and you have necessities, which goes into the plural column. Then has troubled many countries of the world. Countries goes into the plural column. World is already there, so we don't worry. Air, water, and food are polluted. Air, water, and food, all three go into the uncountable column. In a high-level summit, summit goes to the first column, singular. About weather, weather goes into the uncountable column. Many members showed disinterest in taking any concrete step. Step goes into the countable singular column to help the situation. Situation also singular. But if this continues, there is great peril. Peril goes into uncountable form. Waiting for us and our very survival, also survival goes into the uncountable form, is in doubt. Doubt goes into the singular column. In this way, we have all the answers which are there. This video, as I told you at the beginning, has two units. One is number, which we did earlier. Now we move on to the second part, and that is gender. Fortunately, in English, almost all the nouns which are inanimate do not have gender. Human beings and animals have gender. And that too, in human nouns, as far as possible today, we hope for a gender neutral world, a gender neutral vocabulary. Therefore, many words are changing all the time. When you want to keep abreast of a language, you must know these changes. But still, since we are studying grammar from the roots, from the basic level, we study this lesson on gender also. Let us see the four columns which are there in this slide. Masculine, we have one gender, usually for human beings and for animals. Then we have feminine, the male and the female gender. Then you have a common gender, and then you have a non-gender, no gender at all. Common is what is used for both masculine and feminine. It's used for everything else also. Today, there is a lot of discussion in the whole world about what is gender, what are the psychological implications of gender. I won't go into that now. Maybe as the lessons go on, when I've finished teaching you the basics of the language, we will go to discussions and debates and, you know, talking about various important current issues. But that will be much, much later. Today we are looking at common gender, and then, of course, we are looking at inanimate things which are what we call as neuter gender. Many languages have gender for these also. If you are aware of Hindi, for instance, or many of the, I'm told that French, I don't know French, but French also has genders for other than human and animal, other than animate objects. Though plants have life, but in English, we have not given any gender to plants yet. Of course, you have the concept, the biological concept of pollination, etc. But that is again another discussion. Let us look at these columns one by one. You have the father and mother. Then this masculine and feminine, uncle, aunt, son, daughter, sir, madam. Then you have the cock and hen, bird, gentleman, lady, monk and nun, people who have renounced the world, who've given up everything, masculine monk and nun, nephew, niece, husband, wife, prince, princess. Then you have an animal, fox and vixen. In one of the exercises, I have given a passage with all animal genders. So there you will learn, and that will be an introduction to you where you can find out much more when you delve into it. Common gender, where we don't distinguish between the masculine and the feminine, for both we use the same. Teacher, for instance, male or female, we call teacher. Dentist. Now earlier we had the form actor and actress. Today actress is discontinued. We say actor for both. That is the current development we have. Similarly, we had, master, mistress, director, directress. These feminine forms are now done away with, and we have the single form which is used in the common gender. Then student, no, cousin. I have already told you, I think, in an earlier video that we don't have a gender for it. Cousin itself implies both. And to qualify it by saying cousin brother or cousin sister is not grammatically very correct. But in India, we have a variety of relationships. Our relationships are very elaborate, and for everything there is a term. That is why we get a little confused when we find that, a cousin is only a cousin, an uncle is only an uncle. We have at least 5 different descriptions for the word uncle. So we have to learn. Language is always culturally determined. You have to see the culture of the place and then think of the language. Student, we don't distinguish the gender. Friend also, we don't say boyfriend, girlfriend, because that has a different connotation altogether. Then chairman, chairwoman was there earlier. Today we have the word chairperson. Similarly, manager, leader, employer, candidate, employee. Many, you can make a long list of common genders. As far as possible, the gender neutral language is trying to bring as much into the common gender as possible. So we have the common gender is very important, and we have different words for masculine and feminine, but the number of gender identities are more today, so we have to be very careful. Then we have the neuter, sack, a huge, jute bag, you can call a sack, purse, in what you keep money, telephone, aeroplane, ball, watch, hat, stick, building, cot, clock. These are all neuter genders. They don't have any of the 3 distinctions. Therefore, language becomes easy. The grammar, the use becomes that much easier when you don't have so much gender distinction. Also, when we learn verbs, we will see how simplified the verbs are, unlike the gendered verb declinations which you have in some languages. So there are many advantages of English which is structurally determined. This is what we have for genders. Now let us move on to the examples and exercises. Here are some sentences where the bold words are the words where gender is indicated. So you say, the students first. The students greeted their teacher, good morning, madam. Teachers, good morning, madam, good morning, sir. So students and teachers common, madam feminine, sir masculine. The tigress protected her cubs when the tiger was away. Tigress is feminine, cubs common, and tiger masculine. Candidates were asked to wait for the secretary. Both candidates and secretary common. The gentleman opened the door for the ladies. Gentleman masculine and ladies feminine. The property was willed to the brother and sister. Property neuter, brother masculine, sister feminine. A child was born to this woman in the hospital. Child common, woman feminine, hospital neuter. The farmers work in the sun to grow crops. Farmers is common, sun is neuter, and crops also is neuter. Sun often, if you're talking about sun god and all, in various mythologies, sun god is there, then you might take it as masculine. But usually the sun is, a ball of light which gives us uh, the sustenance on this earth. Then sun becomes neuter. When we replace it, we say it, for the sun. We don't say he or she. There are the pictures. Pictures is neuter of many gods and goddesses here. Gods masculine, goddesses feminine. We saw a peacock on the terrace. Peacock masculine, terrace neuter. The peahen was missing. Peahen feminine. Parents, peacock, peahen, you can see now that they are the masculine, feminine of a bird, the bird which has a huge, beautiful tail. Parents and guardians need to monitor their wards carefully. All three nouns, parents, guardians, wards, are common. No masculine, feminine, or neuter here. That is the example, sentence forms, example usage of gender. Now let us move on to the three tests. I'm sure you all remember. This is the beginner's test where you have to identify the nouns and specify whether they belong to the masculine, feminine, common, or neuter genders. I'll read the passage like I usually do. An artist was giving coaching to a group of boys and girls. The learners had to bring paints, brushes, and paper. Some adults wanted to take coaching too, but the teacher was not willing to give coaching to anyone other than children. The art class was stopped by people who did not like the attitude of the artist. They said art is for everyone. Age has nothing to do with it. A new man came forward to start the class for everyone who was interested. He became very popular, and all persons who came into with all persons who came into contact with him. So this is where the passage ends. Now what you have to do is to find out the words which are nouns. And all nouns, of course, might not have gender. Then you have to find whether they are neuter gender and put it like that. Usually, we don't say that abstract nouns have gender. For instance, here you have the word art, no gender, because concrete nouns, inanimate concrete nouns. I mentioned to you that these days people are also studying concrete nouns. I didn't go into such details. But concrete nouns are nouns which you can see, feel, taste, touch. Those are the nouns which are available to our five senses. Then those are neuter gender. these 4 columns again you make and try to put in the right noun in the right column. I hope all the beginners have worked out the answers. The people who are at other levels also can work it out just to check how good your English is. Now look at the passage and see what uh, we are, what are the answers which are there. An artist was giving coaching, so artist is common gender, to a group of boys and girls. So boys masculine and girls feminine. The learners common, had to bring paints, brushes, and paper. So paints, brushes, and paper, concrete nouns, they go into the neuter form. Some adults is common, wanted to take coaching too. But the teacher again is common, was not willing to give coaching to anyone other than children. Children is also common. The art class was stopped. Class is neuter. Art, as I told you, does not have any um, gender form. They said art is for everyone. Age has nothing to do with it. A new man is masculine, came forward to start the class we've done already, for everyone who was interested. He became very popular with all persons is common, who came into contact with him. So you can see that the maximum are common genders. As I told you, in today's world, we tend to use non-gendered words, but we still have boys, girls, man, and we have so many inanimate nouns where class is the classroom, not the concept of a coaching. There it becomes a neuter gender. The concrete room or the place where the class is held, that the group of people who constitute the class, all these things become neuter. This is the mid-level test where I have given you the masculine, feminine of animals. So animals and birds. So that is why this passage I have put, so that you can get the idea of how these animals use them. We didn't have many examples of animals in the list I gave you, but you can always supplement your answers by looking at, other material, or looking at how, whenever you come across these words, noting it down for yourself, you can make the list longer. The horse and mare, horse masculine, we can also say stallion, and mare feminine. Invited all creatures, you have the noun. Let me just read the passage to you first, because I didn't want to tell you everything, just to give you the first example I have told you. The horse and mare invited all creatures to their feasts. The bull and cow came, so did the pig and sow. The doe and deer were not going to come. There was a leopard whose hungry leopardess wanted to eat the deer. Some birds, like the duck and drake, the peahen and peacock, the male swan or cob, had a meeting to save the doe and deer from danger. A trap was laid to catch the leopard. The birds collected grass and piled it on a pit, and the leopard fell into it. So we have these many nouns, most of them talking about birds and animals and their genders. Some may be common and some may be neuter. Do the exercise before moving on to the answers. I already told you horse or stallion, masculine, mare, feminine, first sentence. Invited all creatures is common, to their place. Place may be a stable for horse, but or we can talk about their houses. Like you have in Gulliver's Travel, the whole book is devoted to how horses live like human beings and human beings live like animals. Yahoo. You have heard of the term Yahoo, that comes from that book. The bull and cow. Bull is masculine and cow is the feminine form. came, and so did the pig and sow, pig masculine and sow feminine. The doe and deer were not going to come. Doe is feminine and deer is masculine. There was a leopard whose hungry leopardess, leopard is masculine and leopardess is feminine, wanted to eat the deer. Deer we've already finished. Some birds, birds is common, like the duck and drake. Duck is feminine and the masculine of duck is drake. The peahen and peacock. Peahen we have come across already, feminine, and peacock masculine. The male swan, cob. Now already it's told to you that male swan is called cob. The female obviously is called the swan. You can check up also that it has some other term which I'm not giving you. I'm leaving it to you like homework. You can do it yourself. A trap was laid to catch the leopard. So trap is neuter. The birds, already we've finished. Collected grass. Grass is neuter, and piled it on a pit. Pit is also neuter. And the leopard fell into it. Leopard is already finished. So these are the all the genders which we have in the mid-level. This is the last of our tests for this video. It is an advanced level test for finding out the 4 gender divisions of nouns which are used here. I'll read the passage to you. When the cakes were ready, the husband felt proud. There was no other woman in the village able to do what his new wife had done. His old grandmother said, "Call my brother, call your cousin, uncle, and aunt. Let them see what the new bride has made for this feast." The husband first went to call the wife's parents, and then his sisters-in-law and their families. But first, the cakes would be taken as gift to the palace. It was great good fortune to go there as a visitor. Before the neighbors could come, the husband placed some cakes in a basket. He covered them with colorful cloth and had them ready to be taken to their master in the big house. Stop here, find the 4 divisions in the gender divisions in these nouns, and then go on to the answers. Here are the answers. Let me read out to you because the passage is not with you. When the cakes were ready, cakes is neuter, so you put it in the last column. The husband felt proud. Husband is masculine, you put it in the first column. There was no other woman. Woman is feminine, so put it in the second column. In the village, village is neuter, so you put it in the last column. Able to do what his new wife, wife is feminine, so put it in the second column. His old grandmother, grandmother again is feminine, so put it in the second column, said, "Call my brother," brother is masculine, so put it there. "Call your cousin," cousin is common, so put it there. Uncle and aunt, uncle is masculine, aunt is feminine, so first column and second column. Let them see what the new bride, bride is feminine, so you put it in the second column, feminine, has made for this feast. Feast is neuter, you put it in the last column. The husband first went to call his wife, we finished wife already, parents. Parents is common, you put it in the third column. Then his sisters-in-law. Sisters-in-law, feminine. I have already told you we don't say sister-in-laws, we say sisters-in-law. And their families. Families is common, so we put it in the third column. First, the cakes would be taken as gift. Gift is neuter, so you put it in the last column. To the palace, palace also is neuter, last column. It is great good fortune to go there as a visitor. Visitor is common, so we put it in the third column. Before the neighbors also common, third column could come. The husband we finished already, masculine. Place some cakes, cakes also we finished neuter. In the basket, basket is neuter, we put it in the last column. He covered it with some colorful cloth, cloth is also neuter, and had them ready to be taken to their master, master is masculine. In the big house, house is neuter, so that is the end of the passage and also the end of the exercise. I'm sure all of you have been following what we did here, the number and gender of nouns. Now, one very important aspect of noun remains, so one more video, and that is the usage, the function of the noun, and that is the noun case. We shall do it in the next video, but you have to become perfect with these. Start with the first video, beginner's video, then continuing it into yesterday's video on noun types, and here noun number and gender, and then next video noun case. Put them all together, four of them, listen to them in continuity, and listen to them as many times as you require. This is the basis of your good communication. Many of you might want to learn communication in a minute or two. I don't have the capability of teaching you that. I can only teach you step by step. And as you improve step by step, you have a firm foundation. You never go wrong in your communication. So don't be impatient. Don't keep wanting to learn something which will come much later. Somebody said, I would like letter writing, email writing, official communication, all these. That will come much later. Unless you know these, your single sentence communication will also be not correct. So please be patient. Please follow all the videos. And the more you share with your friends and others who you find are making mistakes in the use of English, because individually I cannot share with all of them. I cannot tell all of them. I don't know. But it is up to you, if you're benefiting, to share with others. Then all my effort, all my energy will have a good result, with many of you becoming fluent and comfortable in communication. Thank you and all the best.